it's in Tripura, northeastern part of India. That's where I grew up. I was born in Shillong and raised in Tripura. I studied there all my life till I was 18, and then I moved to New Delhi for doing my graduation and my post graduation in University of Delhi. So to speak about my earliest influences, I have to begin with my parents. So they are both medical doctors and also teachers in a university in Tripura. So they were my biggest influences, biggest heroes in my life, and they introduced me to books. And forever, I have been a bibliophile. And I loved science. I always knew I would be a scientist. I didn't know whether I would be an engineer or a medicine person, but I always knew I would be a scientist. And then I started working. Actually, chemistry has always been my favorite subject. I got there's a Tripura Chemical Society that was there, which conducted fairs and competitions for students in Tripura. So I won that competition quite a few times, and that was my interest in organic chemistry. But then when you score a little better, so there's just two options that you're given, whether you go into engineering or into medicine. So then I joined MBBS in Lady Harding Medical College. I completed my MBBS degree, and after that, I took a sabbatical of sort of 6 months. I was working, but it was part time. But then I wanted to decide what I wanted to do because I wanted a combination of research, teaching, and services, patient services. So that was very, very important for me. So that's when I gave my entrance exam and I decided to take biochemistry as a subject, even after scoring very high, wherein people usually choose clinical subjects. And why was that? I would like to tell you that story also, because I was really influenced by the Nobel Prize winners. They were mostly from biochemistry and the research that they did all their lives. So I wanted to have a huge research component in my career. There have been many. Like the current Nobel winner, she is also a big inspiration for me, Dr. Caitlin. So the research that she does, because she works on mRNAs. So I have also been working on mRNAs for some time now, and I also work on microRNAs as biomarkers for cardiovascular diseases in India. So that is something that is what I am working on. I have been also presented at meetings, the Nobel laureate meetings that they have for other scientists. So that has also been big chunk of my career. And I'm also trying to combine my work with also space medicine. I work a lot in space medicine. So my chemical pathology work and the space medicine, I'm working a lot in that space. So, being from a small town, like you said, first of all, we didn't have so much of information access because when I was doing I was going to start my undergraduation at that time. We do not have so much of internet access. Then we didn't have all that information of all the entrance exam and how to approach and how to enter a college. So I would give the credit to my father. He was following all the newspaper articles at the time and all the newspaper advertisements at the time. I didn't have any coaching in my whole career. There was no coaching institutes. I studied myself. I had some guidance from my teachers in schools or at some with some subjects, some help and tuition, but no proper coaching like that is there currently. So that was one of the biggest. I think we were not at par with all the students that were there all over India. So that was one of the challenges. And then when I even cracked and I came to New Delhi, it was difficult because I was leaving my home. I didn't have anyone in the city. So I had to adjust with this place, and there was a huge pressure of doing the MBBS. It's a huge course, a very tough course. So that was one of the biggest challenge. And there is always a period when you do not have accommodation. You have a accommodation challenge, your hostel, you have to give up the hostel once you're done with your education. So if you're taking a sabbatical, you have challenges on that. And then the cultures, I belong to a northeastern part of the country, and there was a culture change also. So I had to adjust with all of that. And when I was doing my MD, it was a very good period because I had wonderful mentors during my post graduations. It was actually because of that I my career took a real turn, because I had a thesis dissertation guide who really literally handheld me, and all the other teachers in my department, they actually handheld me and told me what is the best way to go forward. So that was a real turning point in my career. Yeah, that it was a really tough decisions because I had just completed MBBS and I had job offers which were having good salary. Plus, there were also, when I also cleared my entrance, I had opportunities to take in clinical medicine like internal medicine, surgery, gynecology, pediatrics. But I was somewhere, that sabbatical was for this purpose only. I wanted to think, how do I want to introduce chemistry and space medicine into my what the subject that I wanted to do. And when I told my father, like, I want this 6 months of time to think and think through. So he was like, do you really want to do this at this point in your career where you have just completed your MBBS and you have job offers and you can go ahead and do this? So I was like, no, I really want to take this time and I want to think about it. And I biggest problem for me was to find an accommodation and manage my finances at the time. So I did it because I had some savings from my internship. So that was taken care of. And after that, that period gave me a immense clarity that this is what I wanted to do, medical biochemistry. I was very sure of it. And because I was so sure of it, I think I did really good during my post graduation. And it gave me an opportunity for research. And when the research that I did, it was awarded at many international platforms. So that was something, I think it was a well thought of sabbatical. That's how I would like to put it. Okay. So briefly about my work, I work on cardiobiochemistry, I work on endobiochemistry, and I work on biomarkers in space medicine. So that's how I integrate my work with space medicine. I did my dissertation on biomarkers of premature coronary artery disease, which is very common. You must have heard about people having MI at very young ages. That was the subject of my dissertation. So I studied certain surrogate markers which we could identify, which simple with the help of a simple blood test we could identify those in individuals. And then I studied infertility, female infertility. Then I studied PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, the biomarkers of it, and my work in space medicine. I work a lot. It's an integration of biochemistry and biotechnology, both of this. And I also study biomarkers to identify any disorders in spacefarers, astronauts. So that is majorly my work. I also do a lot of newborn screening in children, and I also do a lot of prenatal screening in mothers to identify them if they're having any Down syndrome, or if the child is having any other abnormality like Patau syndrome. So this is mainly the work that I'm currently doing. And major focus is definitely the metabolic medicine part, because that is the major load that we get in our hospitals also. Like, people with diabetes are very very common, and pre-diabetes, pre-hypertension, hypertension, coronary artery disease. So that's a huge footfall that we have. And I also teach students. I am a teacher for MBBS students and MD students also. That's a huge part of my career. So as I told you, I wanted a career with patient services, and teaching and research. So I teach MBBS students. I teach MD students. I guide them for their dissertations now. So that is majorly that my work encompasses. Yeah. So Initially it was mostly metabolic medicine. Like I started with the cardiobiochemistry because that was my dissertation, and when we complete our residency, we go for a senior residency. I continued my work with it, then I moved into endobiochemistry. I still am working a lot on endobiochemistry, because that's, as I told you, that's the biggest footfall of the patients that we have. And of course you need the data to work on, in medicine. So that's most of where our data comes from, because that's the huge number of patients. So that was more general. If most biochemists would be working on those areas. Slightly different, like I specialized a little bit on the coronary artery disease and PCOS. So, but these are general areas because they have the maximum number of patients. But I specifically chose to combine biochemistry with biotechnology because I believe we are heading towards a future in which it is going to be more technology based. Laboratory medicine or clinical biochemistry, clinical chemistry is going to get more technology based. We'll have artificial intelligence in our labs, and we would also be, working with digital twins very soon. So that was a conscious decision to combine biotechnology with biochemistry. And that's when I decided to work with the omics data and integrate multi-omics in my work. And I'm also right now working on special transcriptomics and single cell omics data. So, and this is something I would like to point out here is that this is made working with people from various institutes very easy. These are all virtual consortiums, and it makes the collaboration very easy with people. So we don't have to fly in, fly out for 2-day meetings anymore. So that's post pandemic era. That's been a very beneficial thing for us. Um, it's overwhelming before you're preparing, when you're in the preparation phase, but once you're there, it's just a consortium of scientists that are there. It's like, yes, so yeah, you are the best person to talk about your own research. Nobody knows more about your research than yourself. So I guess, it's overwhelming because there is a lot of attention, media attention, and fanfare associated with this. But and you're presenting to some of the best minds in the world, so it's overwhelming. But once you are there and you're presenting, it's just you are the best person to present your work, and that's what you're doing there. Um, um, See, there is always usually a question answer session. So it's, I mean, like general presenters, for general presenters. So you get a lot of questions, and you have to defend your work. If you are able to defend your work in any international consortiums or any international conferences, you should be able to defend your work. If somebody else might also be working on the same thing and might reach to a different conclusion than you have, then you have to defend your conclusions that you arrived at. So that's very, very important. Yeah, so I'm still in my early career. I joined, first of all, one of the biggest challenge was from getting a tenure track position. So that was one of the biggest challenge because that comes with a lot of system challenges. You usually join first a non-tenure track position or a contractual, as you would say in India, position, and then you move into a tenure track position. So that's a first priority because once you're in a tenure track, you are more eligible for more grants and support from the government agencies. So that was one of the biggest challenge because the positions are very, very limited, and you have to crack an UPSC exam to enter the workforce, the tenure track workforce. So that was one of the biggest challenge. Strategy, I would say, you have to be the best in your subject. You have to have the thorough knowledge of your subject. You have to have publications. You have to be aware of the latest in your subject, be it something that is going on in India being something that is going on abroad. What are the latest areas of research? So that's something you should be always aware of. Then, when I joined my tenure track position, one of the major hurdles that I had was getting grant for my lab. That was one of the biggest challenge because I was an early career. I am still an early career scientist, and I didn't know the nuances of grant writing. So, and I have done a few faculty development programs now, but when I just joined, I didn't know how to go about it. And after that I joined a few mentorship organizations. They were mentoring people. So that mentorship in your early career phase as a scientist or as a doctor, I'm actually a physician scientist. I like to call myself that because I'm doing a lot of research. I'm dividing my time between research, patient services. So that is very, very important. Next is time management. I do not have any time because I have to manage a career with family responsibilities, and also I have to take care of my parents. And my father went through a major illness, so I had to take care of him. Then I had to manage my time with patient services and doing my research. And then ultimately I was, writing my papers in the evening, like after my day's work was done. So that was taking on time from my personal time. So that is something I found was probably the biggest challenge that I had. And to manage all that and still come on the other side of it was a little difficult. And I guess early career stage is a little bit more difficult because you have to prove yourself even to your institute, even to your managers. You have to put your best foot forward. So that kind of becomes a bit stressful. Yeah, so actually, it was taking a toll on my physical health. This is I'm fifth year into my service right now. So it was I had a little bit of health scare in between. So I decided I have to take some time off for myself also. So every day I decide 1 hour is for myself. I 5 days a week I exercise during that time. And on the weekends I do something that I like I love painting. So on 2 days I do painting, or I do something else. I take that 1 hour for myself. And another thing that I like to do is that I read for at least half an hour, or listen to audible book half an hour before I go to sleep. So this is something that I have started doing for my both my physical and my mental health. So that's something I have started doing, and I do it on a daily basis right now. Yeah, I believe in mentorship a lot. So this is something I have gained from in my career. I my One of my mentors is my the head of my department, who was there when I was doing my dissertation. He's my teacher, and he's been mentoring me for my career for a long time. And I have had other mentors also. When I for briefly sometime I was in US, I was doing a fellowship, so I have a mentor there too. She has also guided me a lot in my career. So I hope to give this back, and I am currently I am trying to mentor girls who are from underrepresented minorities, and for them to have a career in STEM, to know about what a career in STEMs looks like. So that's my focus. And officially we are also mentoring students who are actually assigned to us, MBBS students. I mentor a group of 10 students, and I mentor a group of postgraduate students. So they are our official mentees, like we are assigned from our institution. So we mentor, but then they have an access. They are already there in the institution. But there are people who do not have access. So through some NGOs I'm working, and I'm trying to mentor those are underrepresented, specifically girls. I'm mentoring. So one of the girls, she wrote a letter to me when she joined her engineering, because she had no idea that she could even do engineering, and with a full scholarship actually in India, because she came from a background where her family was not aware of those. So she got a full scholarship, which by using which she can easily complete her engineering. She was a brilliant student, no doubt. Everything was on her merit, but she was not aware of those opportunities. It was just my job to make her aware of those opportunities. So she wrote a letter to me that, because of your guidance and your direction, I could achieve this. And I think that was a really emotional moment for me. Like, I didn't do anything. I just, okay, this is there, this opportunity is there. I just made her aware of that. That was the least that I did. So, but that made a impact on somebody's career and her life. So yeah, that really, touched me. Yes, and it comes from all the difficulties that I've faced in my life. So it's every difficulty is an opportunity. You can turn every difficulty into an opportunity. So look for it. It's tough sometimes, but it just opens a door. Yeah, so when I joined the place that I'm working at, I it was very difficult for me to establish my lab. So for 2.5 years, I could not establish my lab because it was difficult to get the grants and everything. I was really upset. I had really high hopes. When you get a tenure track, you really have high hopes that you would. Start your lab. I didn't publish as much as I expected to do, because as scientists you are expected to have a certain level of publication or certain level of scientific work that you're supposed to do. So I was really upset, and now I do have a lot of grants and all, but at the time I was not. Mm, so I started collaborating with people virtually, and I had scientists who shared their wet lab data with me, and I was doing the dry lab work. So I was actually doing a lot of good work, even though I was not having my own lab. So it was I I pat myself for that, that I turned that difficulty into an opportunity, and I collaborated, and now I collaborate with more people than I would have collaborated if I had my own lab and I was just confined to my own lab. Yeah, so omics data, it if on plain terms, it's like genetic analysis, and there are various omics data like genomics data, proteomics data, transcriptomics data. So it's basically studying the central dogma, okay, DNA, RNA, and the proteins, and studying them at a genetic level. So combining genomics, proteomics, transcriptomics, metagenomics, so we call it omics. So yeah, it's been wonderful being part of the Swedish Alumni Network. One good thing is that I have collaborated a lot with the alumni. I recently gave a lecture on lead toxicity, which is actually impacting a lot of children in India, which was also in collaboration with the Swedish alumni. And during the pandemic, we had sessions on COVID-19 awareness, return to work, what are the precautions that you would take. So I believe these networks bring together people from different fields. Like I am from medicine, somebody could be from engineering background, somebody could be from social work background. So I actually got connected to a lot of NGOs through this network. So this has actually helped me reach to more people than probably I am only dealing with patients if I'm in the hospital. So this has helped me reach out to more people, and I guess this hubs or this alumni hubs, they give an opportunity for people from different walks of life to get to know each other, use each other's talents, and magnify the impact. So, my mantra for this is reuse and recycle. So, I try to reuse as much as possible, and everything that can be recycled. We have those recycling bins in our societies also, and we try to recycle. Recently, I attended a workshop in which they were talking about electronic recycle. I had no idea how to recycle my electronics. So I was actually storing my old mobile phones because I was concerned about my data. So then I got to know about this. Then I asked them to come and tell my students in my university, like, you should tell my students, they are the most abundant users of mobile phones, and they must be having a lot of old mobile phones. They came and they conducted a short session, how you could recycle the electronics. So this was really eye opening for me also, to recycle my electronics. And I am also part of an international initiative, because maximum carbon footprints are from hospitals. So we are also trying to start a green lab initiative. We have already come up with the standards for that, international standard for that. And how laboratories, because I work in a laboratory, and how laboratories can be more sustainable, and can decrease their carbon footprint, or their wastage, water wastage specifically, because we use a lot of water. So that's something I'm part of, and I'm really proud to be a part of that.